Help! Keto didn't work for me. I hear that a lot. I'm John Laspina, the carnivore teacher, but I used to be called the carb addiction teacher when I was keto. What's keto? Keto comes from the word ketogenic, and that is not a food, and it really shouldn't be called a diet. Ketogenic is a state we put our body into, a metabolic state, where our body is getting its energy from ketones more than glucose. And this thing called the Randall cycle, which I won't go into. But basically, when you have more fatty acids and less glucose, your body will use ketones for fuel over the glucose as a preference. Now, if you're going keto, you know what that means. You're putting yourself in a ketogenic metabolic state, but just the way I explained it, and it didn't work for you, examine how you're doing it. Are you lowering your carbohydrate count enough to allow your body to say there's not enough carbs and sugar, so now we're going to flip over to ketones? A lot of people are having 50, 60, 70 grams of total carbohydrates a day. It is low carb according to the standard world diet, because the standard world diet is closer to 200 and 300 grams of carbs a day, but it's still not low enough. You've got to take your total, not net. Forget the net concept that was invented by the food manufacturers to sell their keto products. You want your total carbohydrates to be 20 total grams a day or less. And when your body is under 20, then your body eventually will switch over into using ketones for fuel instead of glucose as the preference, and then your body fat will go down because your body's feeding off of its fat and the fat you're eating. Some people don't lower their carbohydrate count enough. A lot of people who do keto eat the keto snacks and the keto cakes and the keto pies, and they make keto treats from recipes that they see online because they have under 20 total net carbs. Well, what is a net carb? Net carb is when you take the total carbs and you subtract sugar, alcohols, and fibers. And then you get this other number, and that's called a net carb. And that's different for everybody because everybody's body absorbs them differently. My intestines, my gut will absorb sugar, alcohols, and fiber differently than yours. So what's 7 net carbs to you may be reacting differently to me. So we, in the carnivore ketovore space, tell you never to use the net carb calculation that the food industry created to sell their keto products. Forget that sugar, alcohol, fiber. You shouldn't be eating foods that have sugar, alcohols in them. And you shouldn't be eating foods with any fiber of any kind, added or natural, in them. Yes, fiber is bad. We should not be eating fiber. When you don't have the fiber and the sugar, alcohols, you have total carbohydrates. The total carbohydrates in bacon is 0, or maybe 1 gram if they added a little sugar in the curing process. Total carbohydrates in a hamburger or a ribeye steak is 0. Total carbohydrates in an egg is probably 1 gram. Total carbohydrates in shrimp, have a couple shrimp, 1 or 2 grams of carbs. You're not getting over 20 total grams a day. Your body switches over to using ketones for fuel. Over so many weeks, the mitochondria in all your cells start changing and growing, making more mitochondria. They're more efficient. They use the ketones for fuel. They don't use the glucose as much because there's more ketones available, and you lose weight and you heal from the inside out. And any medical problems you have start to go away, symptoms minimize and go away. It's amazing. So if you did keto and you say it didn't work, I question what your carbohydrate count was. Total, not net. What were you doing when you were eating? Were you still using condiments, ketchup, barbecue sauce, honey? That stuff all has carbohydrates in it. Very high, actually. Be honest with yourself. Try it again and go more strict. Just stick with the animal products. In my opinion, carnivore is the way to go. But you can ease into it. That's how most people did it. Have a great day.